Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the release of carbon dioxide from humankind's industrial and agricultural activities has increased the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. The burning of fossil fuels has caused CO2 to rise in the atmosphere. The ocean absorbs almost a third of the CO2 we release into the atmosphere every year. So as atmospheric CO2 levels increase, so do the levels in the ocean. Initially, many scientists focus on the benefits of the ocean removing this greenhouse gas from the atmosphere. However, decades of ocean observations now show that there is also a downside. The CO2 absorbed by the ocean is changing the chemistry of the water, a process called ocean acidification. This change in the ocean's chemistry will have profound effects on life in the ocean. About a third of all the CO2 emissions end up dissolving into the ocean. Not only does it increase carbon dioxide concentrations in the water, but it also releases certain ions in the seawater, one of those being the carbonate ion. Ocean acidification will lead to a decreased availability of dissolved calcium and carbonate, which many coral need to build their shells. So, as you can see, we predict by the year 2094 that the shell mineral availability will be very low. Carbon is being released from our soils. One reason could be that the higher temperatures increase the levels of microbial activity and respiration. Another could be modern farming practices such as intensive grazing, the use of inorganic fertilizers, or breeds with shallower root systems. Deforestation is a problem because it throws off the equilibrium of the environment, causing massive CO2 emissions, though no photosynthesis is occurring in order to utilize the carbon dioxide or trees to store it. Normally, forested areas are not precarious because the decomposition that occurs naturally results in the slow release of carbon dioxide. However, in the case of a forest fire or mass logging, carbon dioxide is released at an incredibly high rate, contributing significantly to the greenhouse effect. The carbon dioxide gas doesn't just stay there, it is absorbed by the ocean, and carbon dioxide and water make carbonic acid, which then releases hydrogen ions in the ocean. The more hydrogen ions, the more acidic the water gets. Statistics show how pH levels in the oceans have decreased tremendously throughout the years. Especially, we predict by the year 2094 that the average pH will be 7.8. Also, the more shallow areas of the ocean will be impacted much more quickly by ocean acidification compared to the deeper areas of the ocean. As well, many fish feed on plant organisms, thus affecting the food chains of many of the oceanic organisms. Ways in which we can help reduce the emissions of carbon dioxide is carbon sequestration. This process is enacted by planting and growing large numbers of trees and other plants in order to absorb or remove CO2 from the atmosphere.